All right, so I think it's all set now. Let's begin. So March 2023, paper one. We are starting with this today. Let's start with the first question. A line has equation y equals 3x minus 2k, and a curve has equation y equals x squared minus kx plus 2, where k is a constant. We need to show that the line and the curve meet for all values of k. Now, what does this mean? We have the equation of a line that looks like this: y equals 3x minus 2k, and we have the equation of a curve. The curve is y equals x squared minus kx plus 2. This is the equation of the curve. Now we need to show that the line and the curve meet for all values of k. Now, what does this statement mean? Now, they could meet at 1 point or they could meet at 2 points. We are not sure whether it's 1 point or 2 points. So that means b square minus 4ac in this case, discriminant, could be greater than or equal to 0. ठीक है, ये वो वाला केस है जहां पे दोनों का कॉम्बिनेशन होता है, ग्रेटर भी हो सकता है, इक्वल भी हो सकता है. ये आपने शो करना है. Now you're not going to start with this assumption कि ये आपको पता है कि b square minus 4ac greater than or equal to 0 है. This is something that you need to show. ये आपको शो करना है. ठीक है, तो आपने ये शुरू इससे नहीं करना, इस assumption से शुरू नहीं करना कि ये आपको पता है, ये आपको प्रूव करना. Now how is this process going to work? आप कैसे स्टार्ट करेंगे? उसी तरह आप दोनों को इक्वेट करेंगे. सबसे पहले दोनों फंक्शंस को इक्वेट कर दें. Let's see what that gives us. So we have 3x minus 2k. Let's actually keep the quadratic one on the left side. It's going to make things easier. Left side पे सब कुछ लेकर आएंगे बाद में. X square minus kx plus 2, that equals 3x minus 2k. Let's take everything to the left side. That gives us x square minus kx minus 3x plus 2 plus 2k equals 0. And now what we need to do is we need to write this in the form ax square plus bx plus c equals 0. इसको इस फॉर्म के अंदर लिखना है और उसमें हमें b square minus 4ac फिगर आउट करना है. ठीक है, x square का कोएफिशिएंट तो आपको नजर आ रहा है 1 है. That will remain as it is. What's the coefficient of x? उसके लिए we could take x common. We are left with k plus 3 or minus into k plus 3. That whole thing multiplies with x. And outside we have 2 plus 2k, and that equals 0. Okay. So what do we get from this? The value of a that we have here is 1. The value of b that we have here is minus into k plus 3. And c is 2 plus 2k. Okay. What do we do at this point? We have to just input these values in b square minus 4ac and figure out what b square minus 4ac turns out to be. Now, please keep in mind, you cannot start from this. You cannot say b square minus 4ac is greater than or equal to 0. ये आपने prove करना है. ठीक है, तो आप b square minus 4ac पहले फाइंड करेंगे और आप प्रूव करेंगे किसी तरह से कि वो 0 या उससे बड़ा ही रहता है, वो उससे छोटा नहीं हो सकता. That's what you have to do. Let's figure out b square minus 4ac. We say it's minus into k plus 3 whole squared minus 4 into 1 into 2 plus 2k. That's what it turns out to be. Now, minus का square करेंगे. Minus पूरे पे common है, right? Minus का square होगा तो minus तो वो तो plus हो जाएगा. What are we left with? K plus 3 whole squared. What does that give us? That gives us k squared plus 2 into k into 3. That's 6k plus 9 minus 4 into 2 is 8. And then minus 4 into 2k is minus 8k. And that simplifies to k squared minus 2k plus 1. We get a quadratic expression that looks like this. We need to prove that this expression is always greater than or equal to 0. It's greater than or equal to 0. That's what we need to prove now. Now, how do you prove that? इसमें आपने ये inequality नहीं सॉल्व करनी है. इसको greater than or equal to 0 करके आपने inequality सॉल्व कर k की वैल्यूज नहीं निकालनी है कोई. उसने कहा show that the curve and the line meet for all values of k. So no matter what the value of k is, we have to prove that b square minus 4ac is always going to be greater than or equal to 0. तो आपने ये inequality सॉल्व करने की कोशिश नहीं करनी है. आपने किसी तरह से प्रूव करना है कि ये जो quadratic expression है, this is always greater than or equal to 0. Now, how can you do that? What you do in this case is you find the minimum point of this function. Now, in this case, if you're able to spot quickly कि ये k² - 2k + 1 इसको आप लिख सकते हैं k - 1 whole squared, तो फिर तो ये बहुत जल्दी से हो जाएगा, because this is a square. स्क्वायर जो है उसकी वैल्यू ग्रेटर देन और इक्वल टू 0 ही होती है, तो उससे प्रूव हो जाएगा कि b² - 4ac therefore is greater than or equal to 0. ये आपने प्रूव कर दिया. So इसका मतलब है कर्व और लाइन मीट करते हैं no matter what the values of k, what the value of k is. Okay, that could be one possibility. Another possibility is, अगर आप ये नहीं स्पॉट कर सके तो आप क्या करेंगे, इस एक्सप्रेशन का टर्निंग पॉइंट निकालेंगे. वो टर्निंग पॉइंट आप कैसे निकाल सकते हैं? आप -b/2a यूज कर सकते हैं या आप स्क्वायर कंप्लीट कर सकते हैं. दैट्स योर चॉइस. सो इफ आई वर टू कंप्लीट द स्क्वायर इन दिस केस, दैट वुड गिव मी k² - 2k + 1 squared - 1 squared, and outside we have +1. ऑलराइट, हम ये करते हैं. ये +1 मैंने साइड पे कर लिया. दरम्यान में आई हैव एडेड 1 square and also subtracted 1 square like this. Okay, and now these three terms give us a perfect square, which is k - 1 whole squared. Outside we have -1 + 1, that becomes 0, and we're just left with this. And now we can say, since there's no number outside, that's 0, बाहर जो number है वो 0 है, इसका मतलब है this is the minimum value. Minimum value जो आपके पास यहाँ पर आती है इस expression की, that is equal to 0, which means b² - 4ac is going to be greater than or equal to 0 for all values of k, and that proves that the line and the curve, they always meet in this case, no matter what the value of k turns out to be. Okay, so you could do it any one of these two ways. Both of them will work. All right, so that was the first question that you have here. Let's move on. Let's look at the next one. We have this function f, which is defined by f of x equals x² - 2x + 5 for all real values of x. Okay, we have this function x² - 2x + 5. A sequence of transformations is applied in the following order to the graph of y equals f of x to give the graph of y equals g of x. f of x पे आपने एक कुछ transformations apply की हैं और उससे आपने g of x बना दिया. What you have to do is you have to find g of x, giving your answer in the form ax² + bx + c, where a, b, and c are constants. Okay. Now, how do we think about this? We have three transformations. One is stretch parallel to x-axis with scale factor 1/2, so that's horizontal stretch. The next one is reflection in the y-axis. Then you have stretch parallel to y-axis with scale factor 3. Now, it's often easier to do if you convert it to the completed square form, first of all. उससे थोड़ा सा आसान हो जाता है सोचना, लेकिन वो तब होता है जब आपने खुद से ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस फिगर आउट करनी हो. खुद से फिगर आउट करना पॉसिबल नहीं होता जनरली जब तक आप स्क्वायर कंप्लीट नहीं करें क्वाड्रेटिक फंक्शंस का. यहाँ पे तो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन से दी हुई हैं, वो आपने अप्लाई करनी है. सिर्फ आप चाहें तो इनको डायरेक्टली भी कर सकते हैं, इसी फॉर्म में भी कर सकते हैं. दैट इज गोइंग टू वर्क. स्क्वायर कंप्लीट करके करना चाहें उस तरह भी कर सकते हैं, इस तरह डायरेक्टली भी कर सकते हैं. Okay, so what exactly do we have to do here? So we have this function f of x, which is x² - 2x + 5, and x could be any real value here. It says a sequence of transformations is applied in the following order to the graph of y equals f of x to the graph of y equals g of x. Now, the first thing that's happening is, so let's say the original function is f of x. Let's do it this way. The first thing that's happening is you have stretch parallel to the x-axis. That means this is horizontal stretch. So function के अंदर कोई change हो रहा होगा, stretch से multiply करते हैं. function के अंदर आप multiply करोगे किस चीज के साथ? First step में horizontal stretch में आप function के अंदर क्या करोगे? 1/2 scale factor है, आप 2 से multiply कर दोगे अंदर. That's the first thing done. So after the first transformation, this is what happens. Then the second thing that happens is reflection in the y-axis. What does that mean? Reflection in y-axis. So if you have a graph like this, if you have something on the right side, it'll go to the left side. ये इस तरह से आपकी रिफ्लेक्शन होके दूसरी साइड पे चला जाएगा, राइट? तो मूवमेंट किस तरह से है? ये हॉरिजॉन्टल मूवमेंट है. वाई एक्सिस में जो रिफ्लेक्शन होती है वो हॉरिजॉन्टल रिफ्लेक्शन होती है. So this second transformation is actually horizontal reflection. Horizontal reflection का क्या मतलब है? x की जगह पे -x आ जाता है, फंक्शन के अंदर माइनस लगा देते हैं. तो सेकेंड ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के बाद क्या होगा? अंदर आपके पास माइनस भी लग जाएगा. So you have f of minus 2x. That's what happens after the second transformation. And then you have the third transformation, which is stretch parallel to the y-axis. This is vertical stretch now. This is vertical stretch. Vertical stretch में आप क्या करते हो? फंक्शन के बाहर मल्टीप्लाई करते हो. किससे मल्टीप्लाई करना है? 3 से मल्टीप्लाई करना है. So you have 3 into f of minus 2x. Okay, this is what the final result should turn out to be after the third transformation. So आपको ये चाहिए at the end, जो आपका function g of x होएगा, that's going to be 3 into f of minus 2x. उसमें क्या करना है? आपने ये changes करनी है. ये हम करते हैं. So 3 into f of minus 2x. x की जगह पे minus 2x डाल दें वहां पे उस फंक्शन के अंदर. 3 बाहर मल्टीप्लाई हो रहा है पूरे के साथ. So you have minus 2x whole squared minus 2 into minus 2x plus 5. And then you simplify this. This gives you minus 2x whole square. That's 4x square plus 4x plus 5. And this gives us 12x square plus 12x plus 3 into 5, which is 15. So that's the final result that we get from this. This is what g of x turns out to be. Okay, so that's what we were looking for. And the second question, आपको ये तीनों transformations apply करनी थी. इस case के अंदर हम इसको directly कर सकते थे without having to convert it to the completed square form, because इसमें आपको transformations पता थी. जब ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस पता होती हैं और आपको बस उनको अप्लाई करना होता है तो आप डायरेक्टली कर सकते हैं. अगर आपको ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस फिगर आउट करनी है तो उसमें फिर आपको पहले का स्क्वायर कंप्लीट करना पड़ता है, अदरवाइज वो समझ नहीं आता. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आपको ये दिया होता है x स्क्वायर माइनस 2x प्लस 5 है और वो ये बन गया, इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू स्पॉट कि ये कौन सी ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस हो रही हैं, अनलेस आप इसको इन दोनों को पहले कंप्लीटेड स्क्वायर फॉर्म में रखो और फिर आपको समझ आएगी कि अच्छा ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो रही है. लेकिन यहाँ पे ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस पता थी, यहाँ पे बस उनको अप्लाई करना था, इनको डायरेक्टली भी कर सकते हैं इस केस के अंदर. ठीक है, लेट्स मूव ऑन फॉर क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. इट सेज okay, so let me just have a look at the chart. Yes, Saliha, I will most likely be doing it tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, I'll be doing it on Monday, inshallah. ठीक है, so paper 3 March 2023 वाला जो होगा वो हम इंशाल्लाह कल या परसों दे रहे होंगे. All right. Okay, let's look at the next question then. So it says a curve has equation y equals 1 over 60 into 3x plus 1 whole squared, and a point is moving along the curve. Y equals 1 over 60 into 3x plus 1 whole squared. We need to find the x coordinate of the point on the curve at which the x and y coordinates are increasing at the same rate. Okay, now that's interesting. The rate of change of the x coordinate and the rate of change of the y coordinate, that has to be equal. So we can say dx over dt should be equal to dy over dt in this case. All right. So what do we do now? We can differentiate this function, and that will give us dy over dx. And then we can apply chain rule and somehow figure out what the value of x turns out to be at that point. Let's differentiate it first of all. dy over dx. 1 over 60 is the constant that will remain outside as it is. 3x plus 1 whole square का derivative क्या करेंगे? 2 को multiply कर दें. 3x plus 1 की power में से 1 minus कर दें. So power 2 है, it becomes power 1. And the part that's inside, you multiply by the derivative of that, you multiply by 3. Now simplify this. You have 3 here that gets cancelled with this. You're left with 10 in the denominator, and it becomes 3x plus 1 divided by 10. That is what dy over dx turns out to be here. Okay. Now we can apply chain rule. dy over dx. How can you connect it using two fractions? dy will come as the numerator of the first fraction. Dx will come as the denominator of the second fraction. And in the middle here, you can have whatever the third variable is. In this case, it's t. So we have dt here and you have dt here. Okay. Now dy over dx, we know what that is. That's 3x plus 1 over 10. Right? That is what dy over dx is. Okay. Now we are given that dx over dt is equal to dy over dt. Right? What that means is, on the other side, we have dy over dt and dt over dx. We could replace, for instance, dy over dt with dx over dt. Right? इसको आप replace कर सकते हैं इसके साथ. If you do that, what are you left with? dy over dt की जगह dx over dt लिख सकते हैं. Right? इसकी जगह आप replace कर दें because these two are equal. What does that give you? That gives you dx over dt into dt over dx on the right side. And now all of this gets cancelled and you just get 3x plus 1 over 10 and you have 1 on the right side. Okay? And now it's a simple equation in terms of x. आप इसको solve कर लें, आपके पास x की value आ जाएगी. Take 10 to the other side, multiply this by 1, that gives you 10 here, and 3x equals 9. The value of x that we were looking for here turns out to be 3. X equals 3 हमारे पास आ गया. That's what we were looking for. Okay? So यहाँ पे ये दोनों rates equal थे. जब आप chain rule apply करेंगे तो उससे क्या होएगा? ये दोनों एक तरह से cancel out हो जाएंगे. And you would just be left with 1 on the right side, and then you can solve that equation and get the result. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now we have the circumference round, what does that mean? The circumference round the trunk of a large tree is measured and found to be, okay, the circumference round the trunk, is it around or, okay. The circumference around the trunk of a large tree is measured and found to be 5 meters. After 1 year, the circumference is measured again and found to be 5.02 meters. Now, given that the circumferences at yearly intervals are in arithmetic progression, find the circumference 20 years after the first measurement. Okay, so सबसे पहले क्या है? आपके पास एक value है circumference की, which is 5 meters. Let's write that down here. That's the first value that we have. Then after 1 year, so this is kind of 0th year, you can say. At the start, you're measuring this. Then after 1 year, the circumference is measured again, and it's found to be 5.02 meters. So after the first year, it turns out to be 5.02. Now, given that the circumferences at yearly intervals form an arithmetic progression, that means इनका difference जो है वो constant है. Find the circumference 20 years after the first measurement. Okay, 20 years after the first measurement. Now, how do you figure that out? I think the first measurement यहाँ पे थी. It's actually not right 0 here, otherwise the term form में थोड़ा सा confusion हो जाएगी हमें. Let's call this first term. इसको हम first term कह लेते हैं. Rather than call writing years, let's say this is the first term. First term 5 है. This is the second term. ठीक है? Then what about the third term? अगर ये AP है तो third term क्या होनी चाहिए? Difference कितना आ रहा है? 0.02. Third term होनी चाहिए 5.04, and so on. It'll keep on going on like this. And now be careful about the wording there. It says find the circumference 20 years after the first measurement. अब देखें, ये आपकी फर्स्ट मेजरमेंट है, 1 साल बाद आपकी सेकंड मेजरमेंट आएगी, 2 साल बाद आपकी थर्ड मेजरमेंट आएगी, 20 इयर्स बाद क्या आएगा? आपकी 21st मेजरमेंट आएगी. तो हम 20th टर्म नहीं ढूंढ रहे हैं, हम 21st टर्म ढूंढ रहे हैं यहाँ पे. ओके, इस अरिथमेटिक प्रोग्रेशन की हम 21st टर्म ढूंढ रहे हैं, बिकॉज फर्स्ट जब आपने मेजरमेंट की उसके बाद 20 इयर्स और गुजरे, तो जो आपको टर्म चाहिए वो 21st टर्म है. ठीक है? So now we have an AP, we have an arithmetic progression, and in this arithmetic progression we have A equal to 5 and we have the difference equal to 0.02. आपको करना क्या है? एक स्पेसिफिक टर्म निकालनी है. इस टर्म ये टर्म आप कैसे निकाल सकते हैं? Tn equals A plus n minus 1 times the difference. This is the term formula that we have for an AP. Let's just input values in this and see what we get from this. Aapko 21st term chahiye, so we say T21, that's what we're looking for. That's 5 plus n minus 1, that's 21 minus 1 times the difference, that's 0.02. Just calculate this and that will give you the result. This is what you're looking for here. Okay, so that will be 5 plus 20 into 0.02. And that is giving me 5.4. उसने यहाँ पे two decimal places पर लिखा हुआ है. It's better to write this to 2 decimal places as well. Although if you write 5.4 as well, they will not deduct your marks here. Okay, so that's the final result that we get from this, 5.40 meters. Let's look at the next part now. Now in the next part it says, given instead that the yearly intervals, that the circumferences at yearly intervals form a geometric progression. So now it's a GP. Find the circumference 20 years after the first measurement. अब देखिए GP तो बन रहा है और उसने first 2 terms उस GP की भी दी हुई है हमें. उसने बताया हुआ first term इस GP की क्या है और second term क्या है. We know both of those terms still. So it's a GP, it's a geometric progression. We know that the first term in this case is 5. Just like before, the first term is 5. And the second term is 5.02. So what do we know about this GP then? We know the first term, that's 5. What about the ratio? Ratio is going to be 5.02. Next term divided by the previous term. So 5.02 divided by 5.00. Let's see what that gives me. 5.02 over 5. This is turning out to be 1.004. That's what the ratio is. जब आपके पास ratio आ गई, अब आपको simply क्या करना है? इसमें भी आपको 20 years के बाद वाली term चाहिए. So T21 is what you're looking for here as well. What's the term formula for a GP? It's AR raised to power n minus 1. All you have to do is input values in this. T21 equals A, which is 5, into R, which is 1.004 raised to power 21 minus 1, which is 20. So it's 5 into 1.004 raised to power 20. And that gives us 5.42. That's the term that we were looking for in the second part. Okay, so until now, it's a pretty straightforward paper, as in the first 3 questions were pretty straightforward. Let's look at the next one now. In fact, this was the 4th one, so we're done with 4 now. Let's look at the next one now, question number 5. It says points A and B lie on a circle with center -2, 5. And we're given that the line AB has equation y equals -2x plus 26. We need to find the coordinates of the point B. Okay, so we have a point A, which is 7 and 12, and we have a point that represents the center of the circle. That's -2 and 5. And this point is B. Okay, no, sorry. So A and B. So B point is not given. This is not given. Center is something else. Let's call the center C. Okay, so let's say the center is C. Now the line AB has equation y equals -2x plus 26. We need to find the coordinates of the point B first of all. That's a 6-mark question. Now, how do we think about this? In circles, I would recommend one thing is what you should always do: just sketch a rough diagram for this. So let's say you have a circle that looks something like this. What is the information that you have here? Let's represent that here on this diagram. It will help you understand the situation better. You have the center of the circle. What's happening? Okay, you have the center of the circle. The center has coordinates -2 and 5. Now, where is point A going to be? The point A has x coordinate 7, so it's going to be towards the right of this, y coordinate 12, so towards, so it's going to be above this point as well. So maybe somewhere around here. Let's say this is the point A, and this has coordinates 7 and 12. Now there's a line AB that has this equation -2x plus 26. Okay. Now you see the gradient of this line is negative. So that means center is this and the line AB is this. Yeah. So AB could be either on this side like this. Negative gradient है तो यहाँ पे हो सकता है साइड पे इस तरह से कहीं पे, या फिर हो सकता है कि यहाँ पे हो. इन दोनों में से कोई एक पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकती है. Now, since you are not sure, आप इसको कहीं पे भी represent कर लें. That doesn't make any difference. Let's say मैं B को यहाँ पे represent कर लेता हूँ. Let's say this is the point B. This is what we're given. अब line AB की उसने equation दे दिया हमें. इस line AB की equation पता चल गया. इस line AB की equation क्या है? उसने कहा है AB की जो equation है, that is y equals -2x plus 26. This is the equation of this curve, of the straight line AB. ठीक है? अब आपके पास एक पॉइंट है 712 जो इसको satisfy करता है, और दूसरा पॉइंट है B जो इस equation को satisfy करता है. अब A और B जो दोनों पॉइंट्स हैं, ये अगर आप डायग्राम पे देखें क्या रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, ये सर्कल और इस लाइन के पॉइंट्स ऑफ इंटरसेक्शन रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं. A and B are the points of intersection of the circle and the straight line AB. Points of intersection आप कैसे फिगर आउट करते हैं? Points of intersection आपके पास आते हैं simultaneously सॉल्व करके इक्वेशंस को. तो हमारे पास इस लाइन की इक्वेशन है. अगर हम किसी तरह से सर्कल की इक्वेशन में निकाल लें तो हम उनको साइमल्टेनियसली सॉल्व कर सकते हैं और उससे हमारे पास ये दूसरा पॉइंट आ सकता है. नाउ हाउ डू यू फाइंड द इक्वेशन ऑफ द सर्कल? इक्वेशन ऑफ सर्कल के लिए आपको क्या क्या चाहिए होता है? दिस इज हाउ द फॉर्म लुक्स लाइक x minus a whole square plus y minus b whole square equals r square. This is the standard form for the equation of a circle. इसमें a और b सेंटर के कोऑर्डिनेट्स होते हैं. आपके पास सेंटर के कोऑर्डिनेट्स हैं यहाँ पे, वो आप यहाँ पे इनपुट कर सकते हैं. बट यू ऑल्सो नीड द रेडियस. रेडियस कैसे आ सकता है? यू नो दैट a is a point that lies in the circumference of the circle. तो आप अगर डिस्टेंस AC फिगर आउट कर लें तो वो आपको क्या दे देगा? वो आपको इस सर्कल का रेडियस दे देगा. तो अगर हमें रेडियस फाइंड करना है इस सर्कल का, वो कैसे आ सकता है? रेडियस इज गोइंग टू बी इक्वल टू द लेंथ AC, right? Because that's the radius. We have both points. इस पे आप डिस्टेंस फॉर्मूला लगा दें, इसकी वर्किंग आपको शो करनी होगी. x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. You can say 7 minus -2, that's 7 plus 2 whole squared, plus 12 minus 5 whole squared. And that gives you 9 square plus 7 square, and square root of that. Let's see what this turns out to be. 9 squared plus 7 squared, that is giving me 130. So this is square root of 130. Radius is square root of 130. अब आप इस इक्वेशन के अंदर इनपुट कर दें, आपके पास सर्किल की इक्वेशन आ गई. X minus a, remember what the center is, -2 and 5. So you're going to use the center of the coordinates of the center, -2 and 5, and the radius, that's square root of 130. X minus a की जगह पे -2 डालना है, it becomes x plus 2 whole squared plus y minus b, so that's y minus 5 whole squared equals r squared, radius is square root of 130, उसका square करेंगे तो 130 आ जाएगा आपके पास. That is the equation of the circle. ये आपके पास circle की equation आ गई. You have two equations, you just have to solve them simultaneously, and that is going to give you the coordinates of the points of intersection of these two graphs. Now you already know one of these points, you know the point A, आपको point B figure out करना है. तो हम solve करेंगे तो एक point तो आपको यही मिल जाएगा, दूसरा point आप figure out कर लेंगे. Now let's write these equations down here again. You have one equation which is y equals -2x plus 26, and the other one is, or let me actually just keep it like this, save some space. This is equation 1 and this is equation 2. आप इस equation 2 के अंदर वो first equation input कर दें directly. You input y equals -2x plus 26 into this. And let's see what we get from this. X plus 2 whole squared plus y, which is -2x plus 26 minus 5 whole squared equals 130. And this gives us x squared minus 2x, x squared plus 2x, oh no, sorry, x plus 2 whole squared, that's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4. And then you need to simplify this first of all. This gives you -2x plus 21 whole squared. On the other side, you have 130. Now simplify this further. This gives you x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus -2x ka whole squared. What is that going to give you? It's 4x squared minus 2 into 2x into 21. That's 4 into 21. That should give you 84. So that's 84x plus 21 का square. ये क्या होता है? 21 squared turns out to be 441. And on the other side, you have 130. उसको भी आप left side पे ले आए, तो आपके पास आ जाएगा -130, and this whole thing equals 0. This is the quadratic equation that you have. Now you can solve this quadratic equation, find the values of x that you get from this, और फिर उसको वापस input कर देंगे y में. Let's simplify this. X squared plus 4x squared, that gives us 5x squared. X वाली terms कौन सी आ रही हैं? 4x minus 84x, that gives us minus 80x. And then the constants, 4 plus 441, that's 445. 445 minus 130, that is going to be 315. So we get this quadratic equation. We can simplify this. 5 से divide कर दें, and that would give us x squared minus 16x plus 63 equals 0. You can see if we can factorize this. 63, you can have 9 and 7. Yeah, so 9 and 7 work. So this gives you x squared minus 9x minus 7x plus 63 equals 0. And that gives you two factors. One factor is x minus 9 and the other factor is x minus 7. There are two values of x that you get from this, x equals 9 and x equals 7. अब आप देखें, एक point तो आपको already पता था जिसका x की value 7 है. You already know that point. So you're not looking for that. ये point तो आपका already a है. That's not what you want. You're looking for the other point. In fact, x equals 7 वाला point. This is what you already know. This is point A. दूसरा point B है. इसका y coordinate आपको figure out करना है. उसके लिए हम क्या करेंगे? इसके अंदर input कर दें. Y equals -2x plus 26. That gives us y equals -2 into 9 plus 26. That becomes y equals -18 plus 26, and y turns out to be equal to 8. So x की value 9 है, y की value 8 है at the other point. So the coordinates of B therefore turn out to be 9 and 8. And that is what we were looking for here. ठीक है? Let's move on. That was question number 5 from this paper. Let's have a look at the next one now. Question number 6. Now it says in the expansion of x over a plus a over x square whole raised to power 7, it's given that the coefficient of x raised to power 4 divided by the coefficient of x is equal to 3. We need to find the possible values of the constant a. अब सबसे पहले तो आपको क्या करना है, ये दोनों coefficients निकालने हैं. Coefficient of x raised to power 4 and the coefficient of x, you need to figure these two things out. ठीक है? Now, what's the binomial formula? So I prefer doing it this way. I think it's quicker in most cases that you just apply the formula. A plus b whole raised to power n. So rather than using that general term formula that you have, I would recommend that you just expand it using this. You always get a pattern in the expansion, just आप figure out कर सकते हैं जो आपको coefficients चाहिए. Now, what does the formula look like? A raised to power n plus nc1 into a raised to power n minus 1 times b plus nc2 into a raised to power n minus 2 b squared, and so on up until you have b raised to power n. That's what the formula looks like. ठीक है, हम क्या करेंगे, इसके ऊपर फॉर्मूला अप्लाई कर देंगे. ये क्या एक्सपेंशन है, x over a plus a over x squared whole raised to power 7. So in place of a in the formula, we have x over a, right? Of course, this a and this a are different, right? वो formula वाला a और ये वाला a ये different है. So उस a की जगह पे आपने x over a डालना है formula में. b की जगह पे आपको क्या input करना है, a over x square, और n की जगह पे आपको formula में क्या डाल देना है, 7. That's all that you have to do. Now let's do that and look at the pattern first of all. You don't have to do this full expansion. You're just going to look for these two terms, x raised to power 4 and x, and just ignore everything else. A raised to power n, that means x over a whole raised to power 7 plus nc1, so that's 7c1 into a raised to power n minus 1, that's going to be x over a whole raised to power 7 minus 1, which is 6, into a over x squared whole raised to power 1. Now, at this point, you're going to stop and see what is the pattern that you're getting for the coefficients of x, for the powers of x. First term में power क्या आ रही है, x raised to power 7. Let's write that down here. First term में x power 7 आ रहा है. Second term में क्या आ रहा है आपके पास, x raised to power 6 in the numerator, and in the denominator you have x squared. So it becomes x raised to power 6 minus 2, and that's x raised to power 4. So this term is x raised to power 4. This is one of the terms that we were looking for there. अब आपको pattern पता चल गया. First term 7 है, second term 4 है. These terms are always in an arithmetic sequence. So इसके बाद next term आपको पता है x raised to power 1 ही होनी चाहिए, and that's the other term that we're looking for. आपको उससे आगे जाने की जरूरत यहाँ पे नहीं पड़ेगी. So the next term that you have is 7c2 into x over a whole raised to power 5 into a over x square whole raised to power 2. You don't have to go any further because the terms that you need are already here. आपको ये दो terms चाहिए सिर्फ. Okay, x raised to power 4 भी आ गया इसमें और x raised to power 1 भी आ गया. These are the only two terms that you're looking for. You just ignore everything else. Let's simplify these two terms. 7c1 is just 7. Then you have x raised to power 6. And then x squared in the denominator. So then this is x raised to power 6 into a divided by a raised to power 6 into x squared plus 7c2. Let's evaluate that. 7c2 आपके पास क्या आता है? 7c2, that's 21. 21 into x raised to power 5 into a raised to power 2. In the denominator, you have a raised to power 5 and x raised to power 2 का square, so that's x raised to power 4 in the denominator. ठीक है? Now simplify this further and you would get 7 over a raised to power 5, right? Power 6 है नीचे, ऊपर power 1 है तो नीचे power 5 रह जाएगी, और x की power 6 है नीचे 2 है, that leaves you with x raised to power 4. And then the next term gives you x power 5 and x power 4, so x वाली term है कांस्टेंट आपके पास क्या आता है 21 a raised to power 5 here, a square here, 5 minus 2 gives you a cube. So you have 21 over a cube into x. And these are the two terms that you were looking for. Coefficients आपके पास क्या आ गए? x raised to power 4 का coefficient is 7 over a raised to power 5. और जो दूसरी टर्म है आपके पास, एक आपके पास ये कोएफिशिएंट आ गया और x का कोएफिशिएंट आपके पास क्या आ गया 21 over a cube. This is the coefficient of x. These were the two things that we were looking for. ठीक है, अब उसने क्या कहा है coefficient of x raised to power 4 divided by the coefficient of x is equal to 3. Given this, find the possible values of the constant a. Coefficient of x raised to power 4 आपने न्यूमरेटर में रखना है. That means 7 over a raised to power 5. That divided by coefficient of x, which is 21 over a cube. This is equal to 3. ये आपके पास एक फ्रैक्शन आ गया. ठीक है, अब डिनोमिनेटर जाके राइट साइड पे मल्टीप्लाई कर दें. That gives you 7 over a raised to power 5 equals 3 into 21. Or let me just write it like this for now. 3 into 21 over a cube. ठीक है, अब a is a constant. आपको पता है a की वैल्यू 0 तो हो नहीं सकती. या देखिए यहाँ पे a डिनोमिनेटर में आ रहा है, 0 नहीं हो सकता, तो आप कैंसिलेशन कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे. And that is good. That's going to be okay. क्या कैंसिलेशन कर सकते हैं? और मैं actually do it this way. 3 और 21 को मैं लेफ्ट साइड पे ले आता हूँ. So I have 7 over 63. On the right side, I would have a raised to power 5 over a cube. Right, so that leaves me with a squared equals 7 over 63, which is 1 over 9. अब उसने a पे कोई कंडीशन तो नहीं दी हुई है कि a पॉजिटिव है या नेगेटिव है. We don't know what that is. उसने यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है possible values of a. That means you are going to get multiple values of a. तो अब आपको क्या करना है, स्क्वायर रूट लेना है. But remember, whenever you take square root, you have to put plus minus. So the possible values of a that we get from this are plus minus 1 over 3. And these were the two values of a that we were looking for here. a equals plus minus 1 over 3. ये हमारे पास दो वैल्यूज आ गए. ठीक है, that was the question on binomial. Question number 6 from this paper. Let's move on. Question number 7. It says, by first obtaining a quadratic equation and cos theta, solve this equation tan theta into sin theta equals 1. अब आपने उसने आपको हिंट दिया कि आपने इस सब को cos में कन्वर्ट करना है. Okay. Now, how do you do this? You can first of all write tan theta as sin theta over cos theta, right? And that gives you sin over cos into sin theta equals 1. Now, in the numerator, you have sin square theta. Cos theta can go to the other side, get multiplied with 1, and that gives you cos theta on the other side. Sin square को आप cos square में convert कर लें, because आपको cos में चाहिए सब कुछ, right? Sin square क्या होता है? 1 minus cos square theta. On the other side, you have cos theta. So what do we get from this? We have cos square theta plus cos theta minus 1 equals 0. So I've essentially taken everything to the right side, and that gives me this. Okay, now it's a quadratic equation. You can use substitution. Directly we कर सकते हैं, that's your choice. अगर हम substitution use करते हैं, we can say that u equals cos theta, and that gives us u squared plus u minus 1 equals 0. And now you can see if factorization is possible, which I think is not possible in this case. We'll have to use the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula में values input करके दिखाना जरूरी है. तो आप लिखेंगे minus 1 plus minus square root of 1 squared minus 4 into 1 into minus 1. And this whole thing divided by 2 into 1. Now we could get two values of u from this. ये आप एक दफा जब आपने input कर दी, उसके बाद आप directly लिख सकते हैं. ये देखते हैं क्या values आती हैं. minus 1 plus square root of 1 plus 4, which is 5, then divided by 2. Okay, so this gives me 0.6180, and the other value of u turns out to be minus 1.6180. All right, so these are the two values of u that I'm getting. हमने क्या substitution use की थी? U equals cos theta. We can put that substitution back, and we are getting cos theta equals 0.618, or cos theta equals minus 1.618. इन equation को हमें solve करना है. Remember, the interval is from 0 to 360 degrees. क्या करेंगे? दोनों के basic angles वगैरह ऐड कर लें. Cos alpha equals 0.618. Your calculator needs to be in degrees. Okay. इससे देखते हैं हमारे पास क्या आता है. Cos inverse of invert my calculator mode first of all. It needs to be in degrees. Cos inverse of 0.618. This is giving me alpha equal to 51.8 degrees. Okay, that's one thing that I'm getting. Basic angle ये आ गया. Now cos is positive. Cos positive कहाँ पर होता है? Cos positive होता है first quadrant में और fourth quadrant में. ASTC, so you have it positive here and also here. You could have the basic angle here in the first quadrant or in the fourth quadrant. 0 to 360 आपको answers लगने हैं. आप क्या कह सकते हैं? Theta is either equal to 51.8 degrees or theta is equal to 360 minus 51.8 degrees, and this gives me 308.2 degrees. So these are two answers that I'm getting. Now let's solve the other equation as well, and let's see what we get from this. It says cos theta equals minus 1.618. Well, if you just look at this, you should realize cos की values कहाँ से कहाँ तक होती है? -1 से 1 के दरमियान में होती हैं. ये तो उस interval से बाहर चला गया, इससे आपको कोई solution नहीं मिलेगा. If you don't realize that, what you would do would be you would try to find the basic angle 1.618. Cos inverse से करेंगे, आप calculator में डालेंगे, and your calculator is going to give you a math error. Okay, so that means you do not get any solutions from this second equation. इससे आपको कोई भी answers नहीं मिलेंगे. You would say this is not possible. So the only two answers that you're getting here are these two, 51.8 degrees or 308.2 degrees. These are the two answers that we get from this. All right. I hope that makes sense. Now let's move on to the next one. These are two values of theta. Now in the next part, it says show that tan theta over sine theta minus sine theta over tan theta equals tan theta into sine theta. Now, is that related to the previous part somehow? It does not look like it. Okay, let's do it directly. It doesn't seem to be related. Generally, they make us prove identities in the first part, or the second part में आपको उसको use करना होता है. लेकिन यहाँ पे second part में उसने identity दिया आपको. What do we do with this now? उसने कहा show करें tan theta over sine theta minus sine theta over tan theta. This is equal to tan theta into sine theta. ये आपको show करना है. ठीक है? Okay. Okay, I was not looking at the chart earlier. Yes, Anas, I'll do that as well. So I'll be doing these papers in the next couple of days, in the next few days, most likely by Tuesday at max, we should be done with the rest of the 2023 March papers as well. Okay, so we need to show this thing, tan theta over sine theta minus sine theta over tan theta, that equals tan theta into sine theta. Now, which side do we start from? We should start from the left-hand side because that is the side that has fraction. उसको convert करना right side वाली form में आसान होएगा. और normally हम ज़्यादातर क्या कर रहे होते हैं? Left वाली side से ही start कर रहे होते हैं. Let's start from this and see what we get. Tan theta over sine theta. Now, what can we do with this? tan, if we take LCM directly, that might not be helpful in the numerator with that. If we convert tan to sine over cos, let's see what that gives us. Yeah, so that might be helpful. So what we can do is, you see, you have to keep this in mind कि आपको right side पे क्या चाहिए. Right side पे आपको sine भी चाहिए और tan भी चाहिए. So you did both sine and tan. That's one thing. Tan आपको numerator में चाहिए. Denominator में tan नहीं चाहिए आपको. और denominator में sine भी नहीं चाहिए वैसे तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं? One possible start could be that you write this tan as sine over cos. नीचे वाले tan को अगर हम sine over cos लिख दें, उसका फायदा क्या होगा? इसको अगर मैं लिख दूं sin theta over cos theta, तो sin और sin तो यहाँ पे cancel हो जाएंगे. Okay, so let's actually convert both of them to sine over cos. Multiple methods हो सकते हैं, but we can only figure out what works better once we do it. तो हम ये करते हैं, let's say tan को हम sin over cos कर देते हैं. Let's see what we get from that. दोनों tan को sin over cos कर दें and see what happens when we do that. फिर end पे जाके हम कोशिश करेंगे किस तरह से वापस tan में चले जाएं, हम देखते हैं. But normally जब हम identities prove कर रहे होते हैं ना, this is often helpful कि आप tan को convert करके sin और cos में ले जाया करें. So हमने ये कर दिया numerator में, denominator में हमारे पास क्या आ गया? sin theta. Now on the other side we have sin theta over tan theta. So denominator वाला हम लिख सकते हैं sin theta over cos theta. Now what happens in this case? This cos theta is going to go to the numerator, go to the denominator. In fact, उससे पहले ये sin theta और ये sin theta cancel हो जाएंगे. This gets cancelled with this, and also this gets cancelled with this. Sin आपका cancel हो गया, right? और left side पे आपके पास क्या है? First fraction में ये cos theta नीचे चला जाएगा denominator में, and that is going to give you 1 over cos theta minus this cos theta is going to go to the numerator, and that is going to give us minus cos theta like this. And now we have 1 over cos theta minus cos theta. Now again, how do we go from this form to this form? Let's take LCM now. It's a much simpler expression. Cos theta आप अगर इससे multiply करें, आपके पास क्या आता है? 1 minus cos square theta whole divided by cos theta. Cos theta आपने LCM ले लिया. अब देखिए न्यूमरेटर में आपके पास आ रहा है 1 minus cos square theta. आपको साइन चाहिए था, तो आप 1 minus cos square को कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं साइन स्क्वायर में. So it would become sin square theta over cos theta. And now you see we are almost there. हमें tan चाहिए, तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं? sin square को हम ब्रेक करके अगर ऐसे लिख लें, sin theta into sin theta, and in the denominator we have cos theta. तो ये sin over cos क्या बन जाएगा? tan बन जाएगा. You have tan theta into sin theta, and that is equal to the right hand side. That is what we had to prove in this case. ठीक है, I hope that makes sense. तो कभी-कभी क्या होता है, शुरू में आपको डायरेक्टली पता नहीं चल रहा होता कि आपको exactly किस डायरेक्शन में जाना है, but you have to start with it, and then you realize, and after a couple of steps, that you are going in the right direction. If not, then you change your course and figure out what else is possible in that situation. All right, now this was part B of question number 7. Let's move on to the next one. Question number 8. It says the diagram shows the triangle ABC in which angle B is a right angle. The length of AB is 8 centimeters and the length of BC is 4 centimeters. This is what we're given. The point D on AB is such that AD is 5 centimeters. The sector DAC is a part of a circle with center D. Okay, now that's important. CAD, DAC, this is a sector that's taken out from a circle. इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर AD 5 है, तो DC भी रेडियस होएगा और इसकी लेंथ भी 5 होगी. आपको वैसे भी पता चल रहा है, वैसे 3 और 4 से भी आपके पास आ सकते हैं. You can use Pythagoras there, and that would also give you 5 as the hypotenuse. Now, in the first part, it says find the perimeter of the shaded region. perimeter of the shaded region, perimeter क्या होता है? Perimeter is the sum of all sides, the length, the total length of the boundary. That's what we need to evaluate here. अब इसकी boundary क्या है shape की? You have this length and you have this arc length. Arc length निकालना तो बहुत straightforward है यहाँ पे, right? Because S equals r theta formula लगा सकते हैं आप, उसमें radius आपको पता है, ये angle नहीं पता, angle आपको figure out करना है किसी तरह से, और जब angle आ जाएगा तो उससे आप ये वाली side में निकाल सकते हैं cosine rule use करके, right? You have two sides, you have the angle between them, you can find the third side pretty easily from that as now for that as well, you could either use cosine rule or you could also use isosceles triangles, because ये isosceles triangle है, isosceles triangle वाली property भी use कर सकते हैं, उसमें हम इसको break कर सकते हैं middle से, इस तरह से right angle बना सकते हैं और फिर एक part निकाल लें और उसको 2 से multiply कर दें. So there are multiple ways of doing this. Now let's start with this. So the first problem is we need to first somehow figure out what this angle is. What this angle is. Let's call this angle something. Let's call this angle theta. Yeah, figure out करना. अब देखिए उसने आपको ये लेंस दी हुई है यहाँ पे. We have a right angle triangle. If we can somehow find this angle here, let's call this angle alpha. तो आपके पास theta आ जाएगा pi में से minus करके. Remember circular measure में आपने degrees नहीं use करना है यहाँ पे. You should be using radians. Otherwise आपके वो formulas जो हैं S equals r theta and area equals half r square theta, they are not going to work. Okay. So हम पहले क्या करते हैं, alpha figure out कर लेते हैं. For finding alpha, what we can do is we can use trigonometry on this right angle triangle. So we could say tan alpha equals 4/3, right? Opposite over adjacent. That's what tan alpha is. यहाँ से आपके पास क्या होएगा, alpha की value आ जाएगी. Let's figure out what that turns out to be. Tan inverse of 4/3. We know that's an acute angle. So first convert your calculator to radian mode and do tan inverse of 4 divided by 3 and see what that gives you. This is giving me 0.9273. This is the value of alpha that I'm getting from this. ठीक है? तो theta क्या हो जाएगा फिर? Theta is going to be pi minus 0.9273. Let's see what this turns out to be. Pi minus this number, and that is 2.214. That's what theta turns out to be. अब हमें क्या करना है, arc length निकालनी है. Arc AC, that is equal to r into theta. Radius is 5, angle is 2.214. Multiply these two numbers and see what that gives you. जो आपकी calculator value उसी को 5 से multiply कर दें, and that is giving me 11.07. That's the arc length AC. ये आपको एक चीज figure out करनी थी, दूसरा आपको ये length figure out करना है. ठीक है, अब ये length कैसे आ सकती है आपके पास? या तो आप cosine rule लगा लें, आपके पास theta की value आ गई है, cosine rule use कर लें, उससे भी आपके पास आ जाएगी. या फिर आप इसको ब्रेक करके दो आइसोसेलेस ट्रायंगल्स बना, दो राइट एंगल ट्रायंगल्स बना लें, तो एक लेंथ निकाल लें ट्रिग्नोमेट्री यूज करके और उसको 2 से मल्टीप्लाई कर दें. सो दैट्स योर चॉइस. अगर आपको कोसाइन रूल याद है तो उससे ये इस केस के अंदर जल्दी हो सकता है थोड़ा सा, बिकॉज उसमें फॉर्मूला की फॉर्म इस तरह से होती है, a square equals b square plus c square minus 2bc into cos of a. You just have to input values here. अगर ये साइड a है तो इसके ऑपोजिट वाला एंगल आपको लेना है, तो वो यहां पर आएगा. ठीक है, तो a square is going to be equal to 5 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 into 5 into 5 into cos of that angle, and that angle is 2.214 in radians. Okay, यहाँ से आप देख लें a की वैल्यू क्या आती है, या a स्क्वायर देख लें पहले, फिर इसको स्क्वायर रूट कर लें. So 50 minus 2 into 5 into 5, that's also 50. 50 minus 50 multiplied by cos of 2.214. And that gives me 80 units. No, so we also have to take square root of that, square root of this number. So this turns out to be 8.944. This is the length AC. ये आपकी AC की length आ गई. ठीक है, so this represents the length of AC. Perimeter क्या हो जाएगा? इन दोनों lengths को add कर दें, and that is going to give you the perimeter. Arc length 11.07. Add to that 8.944 and see what that gives you. $11.07 plus 8.944. This is giving me 20.014. Okay, if the question के अंदर कोई instruction नहीं दी हुई है, कोई accuracy की, you can leave it like this. अगर question statement के अंदर कोई इस तरह की instruction दे कि आपको एक certain number of significant figures तक answer देना है, then it's necessary to follow that. You lose marks if you don't follow that. Otherwise, आपको minimum 3 significant figures लिखने होते हैं, and that is going to be enough. Okay, so that was the first part here. Let's look at the next one now. In the next part, it says find the area of the shaded region. Okay, so now we need to find the area of the shaded region. Now, a very common error here is that people end up assuming that it's a semicircle. Well, it's not. It's a segment. ये देखें, center तो यहाँ पे D पे है. Semicircle तब होता अगर center इसका इस line के ऊपर lie कर रहा होता और ये diameter होता. It's not a semicircle. It's a segment. Segment कैसे? कि ये आपके पास एक sector है. इस sector के अंदर you have this chord. तो chord की और arc के दरम्यान में जो area है, that is what we are looking for. ठीक है, area of segment का direct formula apply कर लें या फिर आप sector में से triangle minus कर दें. That's your choice. Shaded area is actually a segment. So area of that segment is half into theta minus sine theta. Right? Half into r square into theta minus sine theta. So basically, ये आपका formula है half r square theta sector के area का और half r square into sine theta वो triangle के area का हो जाएगा. half ab sin c से आ रहा है क्योंकि दोनों sides same है, radius तो वो half r square हो जाता है, and then that multiplied by sine of the angle, right? So this is what the direct formula for sine for area of segment looks like. Just input values in this. Radius आपको पता है, radius 5 है, so that's half into 5 square. Theta is 2.214. Let's input that. 2.214, subtract from that sine of 2.214. Just put this whole thing on a calculator and see what that gives you. 25 divided by 2 into 2.214 minus sine of 2.214, and this turns out to be 17.67. And again, you can leave it like this if you want. If you want to round this off, you could round this off to 17.7 as well, and that will be acceptable. Okay, so that was question number 7 from this paper. 8, sorry. So we're done with 8. It doesn't look like a very difficult paper, at least until now. How many questions are we left with? 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we have 3 more questions to go. Let's be quick. All right, so we have this function f. Taha sat, I might not be able to do this here, at least maybe later. Differential proofs ki questions, if you look at the differential equations videos and the P3 crash course playlist given in the description, उसमें आपको उसके कुछ मिलेंगे और मैंने अलग से भी कुछ एक वीडियो पोस्ट की हुई है P3 differential equation past paper questions. उसमें आपको बहुत सारे questions मिल जाएंगे on differential equations. You should find them helpful. Pakiza, right angle triangle ABC, to find AC, let me go back there. ABC, oh yes, so I did not actually think about that. That's much quicker. So that's a very good spot. So rather than using cosine rule here, you could just use this bigger right angle triangle, right? And that would be much quicker, right? Because आपको perpendicular पता है, base पता है 8, तो आपके पास वो hypotenuse से आ सकता था directly. आपको cosine rule वहां पे नहीं use करना पड़ता. So let me do that. 4 squared plus 8 squared, इसका square root करते तो आपके पास वही आ जाता, right? So yeah, so that's better. That's much quicker अगर हम वो use कर लेते तो. Yes, S1 Anas हम इंशाल्लाह करेंगे in in the start of the next week, Monday or Tuesday most likely. Yeah, so either Monday or Tuesday. Depend करता है मैं P3 कब करता हूँ. P3 might be tomorrow if I get time tomorrow. Otherwise on Monday, फिर वो उससे next S1 होएगा. ठीक है. अच्छा. Question number 9 from this paper. Let's have a look at this. The function f is defined by f of x equals minus 3x squared plus 2 for x less than or equal to minus 1. We need to state the range of f. Okay, so it's a quadratic function. Quadratic function, or its shape kya hai? It's an inverted U, right? So it's a shape like this. जब भी आपके पास quadratic functions होते हैं, you have to be a bit careful कि आपको देखना होता है turning point पे क्या हो रहा है. अगर वो domain के अंदर आ रहे हैं, आपको उसको consider करना पड़ता है. ठीक है. अब हमें नहीं पता वो domain के अंदर आ रहे हैं कि नहीं आ रहा है. हम find करेंगे तो पता चलेगा domain में नहीं आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा. Now, how do you find turning point on this curve? Now, you've got multiple ways of doing this. Now, since you do not have an x term here, आप इसको इस तरह सोच सकते हैं. This is already a completed square form if you write it like this, minus 3 into x minus 0 whole squared plus 2. Right? X square को आप लिख सकते हो x minus 0 whole squared. Right? So, आपका जो turning point है, उसका x coordinate क्या हो गया यहाँ पे? 0 हो गया. So, the turning point is therefore going to be at 0 and 2. ये इसका turning point है. अब आपकी जो domain है, वो देखें कहाँ पे है? x less than or equal to minus 1. आपने बस टर्निंग पॉइंट के देख के ये नहीं कह देना कि रेंज आपकी लेस देन और इक्वल टू 2 है. ये पॉइंट आपकी डोमेन के अंदर है ही नहीं. आपके लिए कौन सा पार्ट वैलिड है? -1 से लेफ्ट वाला. तो 0 अगर यहाँ पर आ रहा है टर्निंग पॉइंट पे, -1 इसके लेफ्ट साइड पर होगा कहीं पे. मे बी दिस पॉइंट इज -1. इसके कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग y वैल्यू हम देखते हैं. आपका जो वैलिड पार्ट है फंक्शन का, वो सिर्फ इतना वाला पार्ट है. सो अगर हॉरिजॉन्टली देखें, दिस इज 0, दिस इज -1. तो हम सिर्फ कौन सा पार्ट देख रहे हैं? हॉरिजॉन्टली -1 से लेफ्ट वाला पार्ट. अब इसमें कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग y की वैल्यू क्या आती है, वो हम फिगर आउट कर लेते हैं. फंक्शन के अंदर x की वैल्यू इनपुट कर दें -1, and that gives us -3 into -1 whole squared plus 2, and that turns out to be -3 plus 2, which is -1. इससे हमें -1 मिलता है. इसका मतलब रेंज क्या होगी फिर? ये पॉइंट आपका आ गया -1. Okay, so the range therefore is going to be y less than or equal to -1, because y axis के ऊपर you're saying इस पॉइंट से आप नीचे नीचे रह रहे हो, उसके ऊपर नहीं जा सकते. So range is y less than or equal to -1. Now you might think कि अच्छा इसमें ये टर्निंग पॉइंट निकालने की क्या जरूरत थी, आप डायरेक्टली -1 यहाँ पे डाल देते. Well, in this case, आपको तुक्का लग जाता, लेकिन in general आपको टर्निंग पॉइंट हमेशा चेक करना होता है, बिकॉज अगर वो टर्निंग पॉइंट डोमेन के अंदर आ रहा होता तो आपकी रेंज चेंज हो जाती, और आपकी रेंज इंस्टेड क्या होती है उस केस के अंदर? 2 से कम y less than or equal to 2 आपकी रेंज आ रही होती है उस केस के अंदर. Okay, so that would not have worked अगर टर्निंग पॉइंट आपका डोमेन के अंदर आ रहा होता. Now, the second part says find an expression for f inverse of x. Let's do that. We have f of x. F of x is equal to -3x squared plus 2. Okay. क्या करेंगे सबसे पहले, इसे लेट y equals f of x and that gives us y equals minus 3x square plus 2. अपने x को सब्जेक्ट बनाना है. You can say this is 3x square equals 2 minus y. If you bring 2x squared, 3x squared to the left side, y, and take y to the other side, this is what we get. Now we have x square equals 2 minus y over 3, and then if you take square root on both sides, that gives us square root of 2 minus y over 3, but you also have to put plus minus here. Do not forget the plus minus. ओके अब आपको चूज करना है प्लस और माइनस में से, आपको देखना है इनमें से कौन सा यूज करना है आपने. What's the domain that you're given? The domain that you're given is x less than or equal to 1. So this function is only valid when x is less than or equal to 1. अब less than or equal to minus 1, sorry. अब minus 1 से कम वैल्यू आपकी कैसे आएगी? उसके लिए ये पॉजिटिव होना पड़ेगा, ये प्लस लगाना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे, या माइनस लगाना पड़ेगा. प्लस लगाने से तो आपकी जो पॉजिटिव वैल्यू होगी वो माइनस 1 से बड़ी होगी, तो आपको यहाँ पे माइनस यूज करना पड़ेगा. So when you write down the inverse function here, you say the inverse function is f inverse of x equals minus into square root of 2 minus x over 3. That is what the inverse turns out to be in this case. Okay, minus यूज करना है यहाँ पे, उसका एक मार्क इसका होगा, साइन करेक्ट यूज करने का. Let's move on. Part C of this. It says the function g is defined by this. For x less than or equal to minus 1, solve this equation fg of x minus gf of x plus 8 equals 0. Okay, now let me write down f of x here as well. The function f of x was minus 3x squared plus 2. And the domain for that function was x less than or equal to minus 1. दोनों functions की same ही domain है. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब ये इक्वेशन क्या है? f g of x minus g f of x. Let's write it down like this. First of all, f of g of x minus g of f of x, right? Plus 8 equals 0. जो अंदर वाला फंक्शन है, जो सेकंड फंक्शन है, उसको आप एक और ब्रैकेट के अंदर लिख लें. ठीक है. Shayan, I'll come back to that question after I'm done with this part. I'll answer you in a minute. So we have f of g of x minus g of f of x plus 8 equals 0. अब हम क्या करें? f के अंदर आपने g डालना है, g वाला फंक्शन यहाँ पे इनपुट कर दें. So you have f of minus x square plus f of minus x square minus 1 minus g of f. f क्या है? minus 3x square plus 2 plus 8 equals 0. Remember, ये multiply नहीं हो रहे हैं यहाँ पे. f इसके साथ multiply नहीं हो रहा और g इसके साथ multiply नहीं हो रहा. This is being applied on the function. f is applying on this function and g is applying on this function. f हम apply करेंगे minus x square minus 1 के ऊपर. इसका क्या मतलब है? ये चीज आपने input कर देनी है इसके अंदर, f के अंदर. Okay? तो इस फंक्शन के अंदर जहां भी x आ रहा है, x की जगह पे आपने ये पूरा एक्सप्रेशन उठा के डाल देना है. Let's do that. We have minus 3. You have to change this slightly so it's easier to understand. Okay, so अभी हम f of minus x square minus 1 evaluate करें. So minus 3 into minus x square minus 1 whole squared plus 2. ये आपका हो गया f of minus x square minus 1. Okay, then you have g of minus 3x square plus 2. इसमें आपको g के अंदर ये पूरा expression input करना है. So this is going to become, remember ये minus बाहर है, g के अंदर एक और minus आ रहा है यहाँ पे. So that's minus x squared. x की जगह पे आप ये डाल देंगे पूरा expression. So we have too many negative signs here. इसके अंदर दोबारा से minus आ रहे हैं. देखिए x की जगह पे आपने क्या डालना है? Minus 3x square plus 2. Okay, so that's what I'm inputting here. Minus 3x square plus 2 whole squared, and then you have minus 1 and the brackets closed. ये आपने evaluate कर लिया g of minus 3x square plus 2. तो फंक्शन में आपने x की जगह पे ये पूरा एक्सप्रेशन डाल दिया. ठीक है, g के अंदर पूरा एक्सप्रेशन डाल दिया. Then you have plus 8 outside as it is equal to 0. Now simplify everything and see what that gives you. -3 into -x square -1. How do you simplify this? Is that expressions के अंदर ना it's often simpler to take minus common. Minus अगर आप common ले लेंगे तो आपको अंदर क्या बचेगा? -1 common ले लें. -1 whole square तो वो खत्म हो गया. अंदर आपके पास सिर्फ क्या बचा? x square plus 1 whole square. And that will be easier in the sense कि आपकी calculation errors थोड़े से कम होंगे. अच्छा, minus into minus that becomes plus. So you have plus -3x square plus 2. इसको expand कर लें. -3x square का whole square, that's going to be 9x raised to power 4 plus 2 into -3x square into 2. That's going to give you -2 into 3, which is 6. 6 into 2 is 12. So that's 12x squared plus 2 ka square, which is plus 4. Then you also have -1 here. So minus into -1, that is going to give you +1. And you have +8 outside, that equals 0. And you have to simplify this whole expression. -3 into x square plus 1 ka whole square, that's going to be x raised to power 4 plus 2x square plus 1 plus 2 plus 9x raised to power 4 minus 12x squared plus 4 plus 9 outside equals 0. Okay, now let's multiply 3 inside as well. That gives you -3x raised to power 4 minus 6x squared minus 3 plus, थोड़ा simplify कर लेते हैं, 2, 4, and 9. That is going to give you 15. And you have 9x raised to power 4 and minus 12x squared equals 0. अब देख लें x power 4 वाली कौन सी terms हैं? एक ये term है, एक ये term है. That they give you 6x raised to power 4. और फिर x square वाली terms देख लें कौन सी हैं? -6x square and minus 12x square. That gives us -18x square. The constants are -3 and 15. That gives you +12 equals 0. We can simplify this पूरी equation को 6 से divide कर दें. And that gives you x raised to power 4 minus 3x squared plus 2 equals 0. Now, again, it's a hidden quadratic equation. अब इसको quadratic की तरह treat कर सकते हैं. You can use a substitution if you want. If you're comfortable doing it directly, that's also fine. That's your choice. But if I use a substitution, I could say let u equals x square. And that will make it a quadratic like this, u square minus 3u plus 2 equals 0. Now, can we factorize this? It turns out we can, because it becomes -2u minus u plus 2 equals 0. And the factors turn out to be u minus 2 into u minus 1. So u either equals 2 or u equals 1. ठीक है, अब वापस input कर दें. X square equals 2. Ux square था, right? So x square either equals 2 or x square equals 1. You take square root on both sides. X equals plus minus square root of 2 or x equals plus minus 1. These are the values that we're getting from this. But you have to pause here for a moment and see, are all of these 4 answers possible? Let's go back to the question and see कि वहाँ पे हमारे पास क्या conditions हैं. You can see both functions have this domain x less than or equal to -1. तो आपकी values क्या हो सकती है? -1 के equal हो सकती है या उससे कम हो सकती है? Positive values तो नहीं हो सकते हैं. All right, so we will consider minus square root of 2 here, yes, and -1 here, but not the positive values. So the answers that we get at the end are only going to be x equals minus square root of 2 and x equals -1. These are the only 2 answers that we have at the end, minus square root of 2 and -1. Okay, these are the final answers that we get from this. Now let's move on and do the next part. That was part C of this functions question. Okay, so that's it. Okay, that was question number 9. Let's move on. But before we move on, let me answer Shayan's question. So what the question was, we look at domain of original functions. Yeah. So basically, जब आप इस point पे पहुंच जाएंगे, जब आपने x को subject बना लिया होगा, इस point पे जब आपने variables interchange नहीं किए अभी, variables interchange करने से पहले अगर आप देख लें, तो फिर आपको क्या करना है? बस ये जो x की value यहाँ पे लिखी हुई है, domain जो original function की domain, बस आपने वो check कर लेनी है कि वो कैसे आ सकती है. ठीक है? Before interchanging the variables, not after that. बिफोर यू इंटरचेंज द वेरिएबल्स, क्योंकि अभी तक ये तो ओरिजिनल फंक्शन नहीं है, ओरिजिनल फंक्शन में हमारे पास x की कंडीशन है, x should be less than or equal to -1, तो अपने ओरिजिनल फंक्शन में ही ये चेक कर लेना है कि वहां पे प्लस आना चाहिए, माइनस आना चाहिए, ठीक है, एंड देन यू इंटरचेंज द वेरिएबल्स आफ्टर दैट. Okay, I hope that makes sense. That was question number 9. Let's move on to question number 10 now. It says at the point 4 minus 1 on a curve, the gradient of the curve is -3/2. It is given that dy/dx is equal to x raised to power -1/2 plus k, where k is a constant. Show that k equals -2. All right, so we have a point. At this point on the curve, the gradient is given, that is -3/2. And it's also given that the derivative of the curve is x raised to power -1/2 plus k, where k is a constant. We need to show that k equals -2. How can we do that? We know at this point what the gradient is. तो आप dy/dx के अंदर बस ये इनपुट कर दें इस इक्वेशन के अंदर. इसके अंदर आप क्या इनपुट करें? Put x equal to 4 and dy/dx equal to -3/2, because we know जब x की वैल्यू 4 है तो ग्रेडियंट की वैल्यू क्या है? -3/2. उससे आपके पास k की वैल्यू आ जाएगी, ठीक है. लेट्स डू दैट. dy/dx की जगह पे आप -3/2 डाल दें. I'm not sure why they have so little space for this, but maybe just one step. Yeah, 4 raised to power -1/2 plus k. ये आपके पास आ जाएगा -3/2 equals 4 raised to power -1/2. What is that going to become? 1/4 raised to power 1/2, which is 1/2 and plus k. And now 1/2 goes to the other side. We get k equal to -2 from this, and that's what we had to prove. K की value -2 आती है, ठीक है. That was the first part. Second part में वो कहता है find the equation of the curve. We have the derivative of the curve, dy/dx. What is that equal to? That is equal to x raised to power -1/2 plus k. Derivative हमारे पास है, हमें curve find करनी है. So derivative से वापस curve पे जाने के लिए हम क्या करते हैं? Integrate करते हैं. We integrate this function and see what we get from this. X raised to power -1/2 का integral क्या हो जाएगा? We add 1 to the power -1/2 plus 1, that becomes 1/2 divided by that new power. That's the integration of the first term. K is just a constant. In fact, k की वैल्यू हमें पता है, वो इनपुट कर देते हैं. -2. -2 का integral क्या हो जाएगा? You just put an x with that, so you have -2x. But then you also have a plus c after that. Don't forget that. We have y equals 2x raised to power 1/2 minus 2x plus c. ठीक है, but this would only get you partial marks because you also have to find the value of c now. C की value कैसे find कर सकते हैं? You have a point that you know lies on the curve, 4 and -1. This is the point that lies on the curve. You can input this point here, 4 and -1, and see what that gives you. -1 equals 2 into 4 raised to power 1/2 minus 2 into 4 plus c. And this gives us -1 equals 2 into 2, which is 4 minus 8 plus c. And the value of c turns out to be 8 minus 4, which is 4 minus 1. That's 3. C की value 3 आ गई हमारे पास. So what's the final equation of the curve then? वो हम यहाँ पे लिख देंगे. Y equals 2x raised to power 1/2 minus 2x plus 3. That's the equation of the curve that we get at the end. All right, I hope that makes sense. Let's move on to the next one. It says find the coordinates of the stationary point. Now again, we have the derivative given. Stationary point कैसे निकालते हैं? उस derivative को 0 से equate कर दें. So dy/dx is equal to x raised to power -1/2 plus k. K की वैल्यू हमने निकाली है, पहले 2 है, ठीक है. इसको 0 से equate कर दें and see what that gives you. x raised to power minus 1 over 2 था वो? Yeah, so minus 1 over 2 minus 2 equals 0. Now you can take 2 to the other side if you want, और इस side पे अगर आप इसको नीचे ले जाएं, it becomes 1 over x raised to power 1 over 2. Now this could go to the other side and 2 could come here, and you would get x raised to power 1 over 2 equals 1 over 2. Now we need x raised to power 1 over 2 से x पे जाना है, तो क्या कर सकते हैं, दोनों sides को square कर दें, and that gives you x equal to 1 over 4. This is the value of x that you're getting, but you're looking for coordinates of x, coordinates of the stationary point. That means you also need the y coordinate. वो कैसे आएगा, इसको function में input कर दें. आपने curve की equation अभी निकाली है. Y equals 2x raised to power 1 over 2. Let me write that here. 2x raised to power 1 over 2 minus 2x plus c. C was 3 here. इसके अंदर वो input कर दें और देखिए आपके पास क्या आता है. 2 into 1 over 4 raised to power 1 over 2 minus 2 into 1 over 4 plus 3, and this gives me 2 over 2, that's just 1 minus 1 over 2 plus 3, and that should turn out to be 3.5 or 7 over 2. Let's just write 7 over 2. This is the value of y that we're getting. ठीक है, तो stationary point क्या हो जाएगा फिर, वो आप यहाँ पे लिखते हैं कि end पे the point is 1 over 4 and 7 over 2. These are the coordinates of the stationary point that we were looking for. Now it says determine the nature of the stationary point. Second derivative निकालने हैं उसके लिए. We have the first derivative already. Second derivative इसमें इतना खास complicated नहीं होएगा, तो वो आप find कर लें. dy over dx is x raised to power 1 over minus 1 over 2 minus 2. This was the first derivative. Differentiate it once more to find the second derivative. It will become minus 1 over 2, power multiply होगी, power में से 1 minus कर दिया, it becomes minus 3 over 2. Minus 2 का derivative, that's a 0. And we end up with minus 1 over 2x raised to power 3 over 2. आपको figure out करना है कि stationary point जो है वो maximum है या minimum है. आपको ये x की value input करनी है, यहाँ पे x की value 1 over 4 डाल दें यहाँ पे. Let's see what that gives us. That gives us something negative, but you can input that and find that value. 2 into 1 over 4 raised to power 3 over 2. So just put this whole thing on your calculator and see what that gives you. I think it's going to be minus 4. Since it is minus 4, we say it's negative, and that means that stationary point is a maximum point. ठीक है, so that was a pretty standard question. इस तरह आपने बहुत सारे question practice किए होंगे, topical papers maybe. That was question number 10. Let's move on and do question number 11. This is now most likely on integration. Question number 11 from this paper now. Okay, so it says the diagram shows the curve with the equation x equals y square plus 1. Okay, उसमें उसने ऐसी equation दी है जिसमें x subject बनाया हुआ है उसने. ठीक है, we have this equation x equals y square plus 1. The points A and B lie on the curve. We need to find an equation of the line AB. Okay, ये आपने AB की equation figure out करनी है. Okay, A and B. So we have the 2 points given. इसमें तो कोई मसला नहीं है. So it's just simple coordinate geometry. Let's find this equation out. आपके पास 2 points हैं. सबसे पहले हम gradient निकाल लेते हैं. M equals y2 minus y1. That's 2 minus minus 1, which is 2 plus 1 divided by 5 minus 2, and that gives us 3 over 3, which is 1. Gradient of this line AB turns out to be 1. You can use y minus y1 equals m into x minus x1 and write down the equation. कोई भी एक point ले लें, let's say मैं 5 और 2 ले लेता हूँ, उसमें दोनों positive numbers आ रहे हैं, so let's just use that. Y minus 2 equals m, which is 1 into x minus 5. This is the equation that we get. You can leave it in this form if you want, or if you want, you can also make y the subject, and that would give you y equal to x minus 5 plus 2, which is x minus 3. That's the equation of the line AB that we were looking for. Okay. All right, let's move on. And the second part, it says, find the volume of revolution when the region between the curve and the line AB is rotated through 360 degrees about the y-axis. Okay, so now this region, shaded region, is rotated about the y-axis. Remember, volume of revolution में जो rotation उसने दी हुई है, आपने वही वाला formula use करना है. Formula दूसरा नहीं use हो सकता. Area में कभी-कभी आप दोनों formulas use कर सकते हैं. थोड़ा सा different तरीके से दोनों आप use कर सकते हैं, लेकिन logically. लेकिन वॉल्यूम में जो रेवोल्यूशन है, जिस एक्सिस के अबाउट रोटेशन है, आपको वही फॉर्मूला यूज करना है. सो दिस इज रोटेशन अबाउट द वाई एक्सिस. सो व्हाट फॉर्मूला शुड यू बी यूजिंग? वॉल्यूम ऑफ रेवोल्यूशन अबाउट द वाई एक्सिस. दिस इज हाउ इट लुक्स लाइक. Vy is equal to pi into integral of x square with respect to y. इसमें कंडीशन क्या होती है? आपको x square को सब्जेक्ट बनाना होता है. ठीक है. Now this is area between two graphs. तो आप क्या करेंगे? दोनों का वॉल्यूम ऑफ रेवोल्यूशन अबाउट द वाई एक्सिस निकालेंगे. You can do that separately for each function, and then you subtract them. That's all that you have to do. Okay? इसको अलग-अलग कर लें. It will save you from confusion. So let's do that one by one. एक दफा हम क्या करते हैं? We have a lot of space. एक दफा हम कर्व का निकाल लेते हैं. कर्व की इक्वेशन हमें दी हुई है, उसने ऑलरेडी देखें x को सब्जेक्ट बनाया हुआ है. ठीक है? Let's write that down here. First of all, curve. This is the last part that we're doing. In fact, before we do this, make sure that you like the stream. I see there are no likes currently now. So when new viewers come, they see that there were so many viewers, but no likes. So they tend to think it was not helpful. So if it was helpful, make sure that you like the stream and also subscribe to the channel and share with others as well, so that I keep doing this. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Find the volume of revolution when the region between the curve and the line AB is rotated through 360 degrees about the y-axis. Yeah. Okay. सबसे पहले हम देखते हैं कर्व का क्या करना है. कर्व की इक्वेशन हमें क्या दी हुई है? x equals y square plus 1. अब उस फॉर्मूला में इनपुट करने के लिए हमें x स्क्वायर चाहिए, राइट? तो अब क्या करेंगे? इसको दोनों साइड को स्क्वायर कर लेंगे. You say x square equals y square plus 1 whole squared. Okay. अच्छा, अब देखें, जब वहां पे इस फॉर्मूला में जाके इसने इनपुट होना है ना, आपने इंटीग्रेट करना है इसको. Remember, we cannot use power rule in functions like these. That does not work here. Power rule does not work if the base of the power is non-linear. यहाँ पे जो power के अंदर वाला part है, that is not linear, तो इसमें power rule आप नहीं apply कर सकते integration का. तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? इसको हमें expand करना पड़ेगा. expand किए बगैर इसकी integration हम नहीं कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? तो हम क्या करते हैं? Before we input this in the formula, we just expand this thing. इसको expand कर लें. expand करते तो हमारे पास क्या आता है? x square equals y raised to power 4. Write that in the next line. X square equals y raised to power 4 plus 2y square plus 1. ठीक है? That's what x square is. ये अब जाके उस फॉर्मूला में इनपुट कर दें. लिमिट्स आपको क्या लेनी है? लिमिट्स आपके नजर आ रही है? रिमेंबर, लिमिट्स आपने y की इनपुट करनी है. जिस एक्सिस के अबाउट रोटेट कर रहे हैं, उसी की आपने इनपुट, उसी की आपने लिमिट करनी है. So y-axis पे, what are the values that you have? The y coordinate here is -1. So the lower limit is going to be -1. The upper limit here is +2. Limits are going to be from 1 to 2 in this case for both the graphs. 1 से लेकर 2, -1 से लेकर 2 तक. ठीक है? So now let's input values in the formula and see what we get from this. Vy, let's call this the first volume. Let's call this V1. V1 हमारे पास क्या आता है? Pi into integral of x square, which is y raised to power 4 plus 2y square plus 1 whole integral with respect to y. Limits are from -1 to 2. ठीक है? इसको इंटीग्रेट कर लें. इसको इंटीग्रेट करें और आप क्या करें? उसमें लिमिट्स इनपुट कर दें. pi into integral, इसका क्या हो जाएगा, y raised to power 4 की integration is going to be y raised to power 5 over 5 plus 2y cube over 3 plus y. Remember y के with respect integrate करें तो 1 की इंटीग्रेशन क्या होगी, y होगी यहाँ पर, जिस तरह 1 की इंटीग्रेशन with respect to x होती है, with respect to y it's going to be y. All right, so now you input the limits from -1 to 2. Remember, if you write down the answer directly from here, you don't get marks for that, okay? Because examiner knows you can do this on a calculator directly. I mean, calculator में आप ये पूरा integral directly input करके answer निकाल सकते हैं. But if you just write down that answer, you don't get any marks because examiner does not. Examiner is not looking for how skillful you are at using your calculator. Examiner is interested in if you know the process or not. तो आपको working पूरी show करनी है, otherwise you don't get marks for that. Okay, तो आपको क्या करना है, यहाँ पे limits input करके दिखाना है. इसने explicitly लिखा होता है marking scheme के अंदर, अगर आपने limits input करके नहीं दिखाई तो आपके marks कट जाएंगे. ठीक है, आपने limits input करनी है. एक दफा 2 input करना है, so that's 2 raised to power 5 over 5 plus 2 into 2 raised to power 3 over 3 plus 2. So you input 2 ones and then you subtract from that the case when you input -1. अब negative number है, negative number आपने हमेशा bracket के अंदर लिखना होता है, -1 whole raised to power 5 divided by 5 plus 2 into -1 whole raised to power 3 divided by 3 plus -1, and then you close the bracket like this. Okay, let's evaluate these two brackets and see what we get from this. 2 raised to power 5 is 32. 32 over 5 plus 16 over 3 plus 2. The first bracket is giving me 206 over 15. Okay, please verify the calculations as well and let me know if there's anything wrong. The second bracket gives me -1. Remember, ये -1 के ऊपर odd power है, तो ये -1 ही रहेगा. So that's -1 divided by 5 minus 2 divided by 3 minus 1. From this, I'm getting -28 over 15. And if we simplify this, we get 206 plus 28 whole divided by 15. So that's 78 over 5 pi. Can somebody confirm this? This is okay. 78 over 5 times pi. It doesn't look correct for some reason. We just look at the working again. इसमें कोई वही sign का mistake हो सकती है. ये मैंने calculator में गलत input किया. Let me just put that again. I have an older version lying around at this point. 2 raised to power 5 is 32. 32 divided by 5 plus 16 divided by 3 plus 2. Yeah, so that's correct. 206 over 15. The second one gives us -1 divided by 5 plus, no, -2 divided by 3 minus 1. That's -28 over 15. Yeah, so I think this is fine. 206 plus 28. That whole thing divided by 15, that's 78 over 5. That's what I'm getting. 78 over 5 ही आ रहा है मेरे पास. ठीक है? Okay, so that is what I'm getting from this. Curves, rotation, curve के rotation से ये volume आ गया मेरे पास. Now I have to do the same thing for the lines equation as well. What's the equation of the line? This is the equation of the line y equals x minus 3. Remember, इस formula में input करने के लिए मुझे x square चाहिए. अब हम लाइन को यूज कर लेते हैं. अब इनको साइड बाय साइड पे कर सकते हैं. कर्व को एक साइड पे कर लें, लाइन को एक साइड पे कर लें और ये दरम्यान में एक कॉलम बना लें. अगर स्पेस कम है, यहाँ पे काफी स्पेस की एंड पे भी आपके पास एडिशनल स्पेस है. आई एम जस्ट डूइंग इट लाइक दिस. लाइन आपके पास क्या आ रही है? y equals x minus 3. So the first thing you have to do is you have to make x the subject. That gives you x equals y plus 3. Now you square both sides. X square equals y plus 3 whole squared. अब इसको expand करना जरूरी नहीं है because power के अंदर वाला part जो आपकी base है, that is linear. You can still use the power rule on this. Power rule आप इस पर directly use कर सकते हैं. That would not be an issue. All right. Power rule directly use करना is not an issue. तो हम इसको as it is रहने दे सकते हैं. ठीक है. Let's apply the volume formula. Vy is equal to pi into integral of x square with respect to y. ठीक है, अब इसमें इनपुट कर दें y plus 3 whole raised to power 2 with respect to y. इसकी इंटीग्रेशन हम डायरेक्टली कर सकते हैं, अंदर वाला पार्ट लीनियर है, लिमिट्स आर फ्रॉम -1 to 2. ओके, सो इसकी इंटीग्रेशन क्या होगी, पाई वहां बाहर वैसे रहेगा, y plus 3 whole squared. This thing remains as it is. You add 1 to the power, 2 plus 1 becomes 3, divide by that new power, and also divide by the derivative of the part that's inside. Y plus 3 का derivative 1 ही है, तो 1 से divide करें ना करें उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. ये आपकी इंटीग्रेशन होगी. अब लिमिट्स डाल दें -1 से लेकर 2 तक. Let's input 2 first of all. If we input 2 here, we get 2 plus 3 whole raised to power 3 divided by 3. We subtract from this the case when we input -1. And that gives us -1 plus 3 whole raised to power 3 divided by 3, and we close the bracket. ठीक है, 5 cube over 3, that is 125 over 3, minus 2 cube is 8 over 3, and that should give you 117 over 3 times pi. Or in fact, I think that's divisible. ये 117 over 3 क्या होएगा? 120 is 40, so that's 39. This is giving me 39 pi. This is the volume of revolution that we get for the area under the line. Area of under the line जो है, उसको जब rotate करेंगे, उसका volume कितना आएगा? 39 pi. ये दो numbers आ गए आपके पास, 78 pi over 5 and 39 pi. अब आप क्या करते हैं, इनमें से जो भी बड़ा नंबर होता है उसमें से छोटा वाला नंबर माइनस कर देते हैं, एंड दैट मेक्स लॉजिकल सेंस हियर एज वेल, बिकॉज आप देखें लाइन और वाई एक्सिस के दरम्यान में कौन सा रीजन आ रहा है, लाइन और वाई एक्सिस के दरम्यान में ये पूरा रीजन आ रहा है. ये पूरा रोटेट करेंगे तो वॉल्यूम ज्यादा आएगा, और कर्व और वाई एक्सिस के दरम्यान में कौन सा एरिया आ रहा है, कर्व और वाई एक्सिस के दरम्यान में सिर्फ ये वाला एरिया आ रहा है. इसको रोटेट करने से कम एरिया आएगा, तो कर्व को रोटेट करने से इस केस के अंदर कम एरिया आ रहा है, लाइन के वाले एरिया को रोटेट करने से ज्यादा आ रहा है वॉल्यूम. ओके, तो इसलिए लाइन वाला वॉल्यूम बड़ा है, कर्व वाला छोटा है. तो फाइनल वॉल्यूम आपके पास क्या आ जाएगा, यू विल जस्ट फाइंड द डिफरेंस ऑफ द टू रिक्वायर्ड वॉल्यूम, एंड दिस गिव्स यू 39 pi minus 78 pi over 5, and that should give you something. Yeah, देखें क्या आता है. 39 minus 78 divided by 5, this gives me 117 over 5, which is 23.4. आप ब्रैकेट में लिख लें या वो सॉरी डेसिमल्स में लिख दें, फ्रैक्शन में लिख दें, फिर डेसिमल भी एग्जैक्ट ही है, that's going to be fine as well, but it's better to leave it in terms of pi. उसने यहाँ पे कुछ मेंशन किया हुआ है, नहीं किया हुआ, अक्सर वो पाई के टर्म्स में मांगता है, तो जब तो उसने कहा हो तब तो आपके लिए जरूरी होता है वो करना, अदरवाइज इसको आपकी मर्जी है, पाई के टर्म्स में छोड़ दें तो वो भी सही है. दिस वुड बी द आंसर. अगर आप डेसिमल्स में लिखना चाहें दैट वुड आल्सो बी ओके. डेसिमल्स में ये आ जाएगा 117 pi divided by 5, which turns out to be 73.5 in this case, and that's the volume of revolution that we were looking for. Again, that was not a very complicated problem. इस तरह के क्वेश्चन आपने बहुत सारे देखे होंगे पास्ट पेपर्स के अंदर भी. Overall, I think it was pretty average, not too difficult. इसका threshold भी कोई इतना ज़्यादा नहीं, इतना कम नहीं होना चाहिए. It should be around 60, I suppose. अभी रिलीज नहीं हुआ. I think it will be released some point next month जब रिजल्ट आता है. So that's it for today. In the next session, we will be doing most likely paper 3. So if I'm able to do a session tomorrow, तो most likely मैं paper 3 कर रहा हूँगा. अगर कल नहीं हो सका तो Monday को I normally have slightly less time, so I might do S1 first, and then on Tuesday I would do P3. But in either case, by Tuesday we should be able to do both paper 3 and S1 from this session. So I would recommend that you try those papers before those 2 classes, ताकि फिर आप एक दफा अटेम्प्ट कर लें तो उसके बाद आपको ज़्यादा फायदा होगा. ठीक है. Pakiza, no. So I actually started this session earlier today. I'm sorry for the short notice. I started this earlier today because I realized that I would not be able to do it at 4:15 today because I had to go somewhere. So that's why I pulled it earlier a bit for today. ठीक है. बाकी अब उसके बाद से बाकी classes 4:15 पे हुआ करेंगे. It's just for today that we're not having the 4:15 class. All right, so that's the result that we get from this. Abhi ke liye, I'm going to be doing the March 2023 papers first. उसके बाद फिर हम वापस चले जाएंगे जो हमारे जून वाले papers थे, जून 2022 वाले papers, फिर हम वापस जाएंगे उन पे, फिर November 22 के ऊपर, and then depending on how much time we have, we can go backwards and do some from 21 or 22, from 2021 or 2020 as well.